Hi, I'm Gene Cavassis. Today we're going to do a action camera GoPro hack for the Feiyutech SPG Plus 2-handle 3-action gimbal. Stay tuned. Okay, this is a great little gimbal. I love it. I always wanted a 2-handle gimbal because for me, well, my hand shakes. But this stabilizes like you wouldn't believe. And if you're using it on a smartphone or an iPhone, it's fantastic. But what about using a GoPro or an action camera? Well, that's kind of a different sort. Even though in the advertising for this gimbal, it says will also work with the GoPro. Well, what they don't tell you is it doesn't come with the adapter mounts to fit that. And then even the more I looked at the adapter mounts, the more I realized it really wasn't that conducive to the action camera mount itself. Now, to give you a quick rundown, look at the stability of this. It works fantastic. I also love the fact that it has the 2 handles, and on top of it, it has 3 mounts, which I have a cold shoe, which it does come with, mounted on that. So you could do a lot of additional, like a light, or you could mount a microphone with it, which something like this could be plugged directly into your iPhone as added sound. So you get a little better sound. Now, with the action camera I have, does not have a sound port, so you might want to try something else, and I'll show you that in just a second. How this is made for using with an iPhone or a smartphone, it works really well. And generally, most smartphones these days take incredible film. Good footage. But the only problem I have with that is the fact that, well, generally, you've got to rely on the battery life. You got so many other applications going on with it, or at least I do. And on top of that, downloading the files once you get it done, or even the memory space you have on it. It just always seems to be full or whatever at the wrong time. One problem, I had to borrow my wife's iPhone to use in the gimbal because my iPhone has a big rubber case on it. So now, the rubber case makes it impossible to mount into the gimbal. Well, it doesn't mean I can't take it out of the case, but I don't want to have to do that every time. So I wanted something that was very simple and straightforward. Now I've used the Osmo before, and that one you also use an iPhone as your monitor and its own camera. But once again, you've got to rely on a Bluetooth connection, you've got to rely on the camera being charged up and also your phone being charged up. So what I wanted to use was an action camera. Now I don't have a GoPro, I wanted to try something out, so I ordered the Wimius 4K action camera. Now I got this on Amazon and I think I paid somewhere around, I don't know, $50 for it. Came with all kinds of brackets, a water case, you know, it came with a lot of gizmos, and it's really a pretty decent little camera. Now I will look at buying another camera. The one thing I'm not crazy about this is it doesn't have an image stabilizer. And even though you're using a gimbal, and it does definitely make a big difference and help out, it still could use a little bit of the stabilization in it. So how do I get this camera to work in that gimbal? We created a simple little jig that would basically mimic the same size as a cell phone and hold the camera and be able to still see the back of the screen through it. So how do we make this simple little adapter? It's really easy. Luckily, I was able to find some plastic lying around from another project, just a small scrap piece because it doesn't take much. So it's 2 3/4 tall by about 5 1/4 inches wide. This can vary a little bit. It depends, just so long as it's of the size it'll fit within the jaws of the gimbal. Very similar to the cell phone itself. Then I took and cut 2 more slices of plastic, 1/2 inch by the 5 1/4 inches as well. One more piece that will be made to be the front bridge that goes across. After measuring and making your cuts, take a file and smooth the edges down so that you don't have anything sharp to deal with. Now that you've got everything sanded down, I used crazy glue to secure the 1/2 inch pieces to the back of the panel. You take the front piece, this little piece that you'll use here, and you set it up and you measure in from your camera to the open area in front. So with me, I knew that needed to be 1 1/4 inches to my first holes. I set them all up on top, clamped them down together, and drilled my holes. I took the top piece of plastic for this now, and I trimmed that out. So now we've created a very simple little jig that will hold on to the camera and then sit like the regular phone. So let's put it onto the gimbal and see how well that works. Setting the gimbal on its head, you can now take the camera and open up the jaws of the gimbal and set the camera in. Once that's in, you'll notice that now it needs to be balanced. That's not an issue. You take the camera, level it with your hands, and right here is an adjustment screw for the balancing. This isn't far off, but it could use just a little bit. So you loosen this screw and adjust it until the camera sits as close to level as possible. Cinch that up. And now you're pretty well ready to go. Once you've installed the camera on the gimbal and you've now balanced it out, everything works great with the exception of you're completely turned around. I had it facing the other way, but the first thing I realized was it picks up so much of the gimbal itself because of its curved lens. But there's an easy way around this as well. All you've got to do now is take the gimbal and tap this button 3 times and it goes into selfie mode. So now you've got the camera set up to go out and do your filming, and it works exactly the way the cell phone would. Now that you have the camera mounted and balanced, let's check out some of the footage that it did. You can see I still have a little bit of movement in there. That's more of my clunky walking, and I need to get more comfortable with how you move with the camera. Now keep in mind, none of this footage has been edited, color corrected, or even stabilized. So this is straight first time playing with the camera and the gimbal. I mentioned before about adding good audio sound to your action camera. This can be done by adding the Zoom H1 audio recorder. Does a great job and can be mounted right on top of the camera with the hot shoe. So after finishing the adapter and testing it out, and I'm real happy with how it worked, I went online and went to Amazon and started kind of looking around to see if I could find any adapters that they actually sell out there. We did find one that was made for the GoPro Hero 5 and to work on the Osmo gimbal. Well, I don't have either of those. But it was only about $15, so I decided, what the heck, and I ordered it. When it came in, come to find out, it actually does fit the Wimius camera, and it does slide into the Feiyutech SPG Plus. So this is also a good way to make it work. The only problem I think you might have with something like this is depending on what camera you're using. The building an adapter, at least I know it fit the camera that I had, and I know they all vary a little bit. Most of them are probably pretty close to about the same size, but you never know. But for 15 bucks, hey, it was worth trying it out, and it worked. Thanks a lot for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. Please consider subscribing if you'd like to see more DIY videos and reviews. I've put a link below to the gimbal, to the camera, to the adapter, and to even the H1 recorder. And if you have any comments or questions, please put them in the comment section down below, and I'll try to get back with you as soon as possible. Thanks again, and I hope to see you soon.